Hey everyone! Tonight, we step into a world that is as captivating as it is chaotic, the ancient Greek pantheon. A collection of beings so powerful, so passionate, and so emotionally volatile that it often seems their entire existence is a cosmic soap opera. These were gods who governed every aspect of life, death, and natural phenomena, and they did it with flair, scandal, and no shortage of drama. But before we dive in, take a moment to like this video and subscribe if you're genuinely enjoying this journey. Comment where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's fascinating to see the spectrum of viewers from across the globe, all gathered to explore a universe where immortality doesn't mean maturity. Now dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan. Let the subtle hum of air or night settle around you. Take a breath. We're about to descend into Olympus itself, the home of gods, monsters, heroes, and yes, some of the most dysfunctional family dynamics ever conceived. Let's begin with the king of them all, the one whose power literally rules the sky. Zeus, god of the sky, ruler of Olympus, the very embodiment of divine authority, and simultaneously, walking proof that absolute power can thoroughly scramble your moral compass. Zeus, or Zu, as we might casually nickname him, was the youngest son of Cronus and Rhea. Cronus, in his paranoid glory, had a habit of swallowing his children whole at birth. He'd heard whispers, old prophecies of being overthrown, and he decided to play preventative fatherhood in the most extreme way imaginable. Fortunately for the world, Rhea had her wits about her. When Zeus was born, she replaced the baby with a rock wrapped in swaddling clothes. Cronus, in his endless vigilance, or perhaps selective perception, swallowed the rock, sparing Zeus. The story could stop there, but, of course, this is Greek mythology. As a grown god, Zeus led a rebellion against his father. In a feat that would make Freud nod and shudder simultaneously, Zeus sliced open Cronus' stomach and freed his siblings, Poseidon, Hades, Hera, Hestia, and Demeter. That marked the birth of the original dysfunctional family, Olympus edition. Power was seized, boundaries were obliterated, and divine chaos was set in motion. Upon winning the war against the Titans, Zeus claimed kingship of the heavens. He controlled thunder and lightning, upheld cosmic order, and theoretically enforced justice. In practice, Zeus was as consistent in morality as a storm, beautiful, powerful, unpredictable, and occasionally terrifying. He spent much of his reign transforming into animals, swans, bulls, eagles, and even into golden mist to seduce anyone who caught his eye. If you imagine a Supreme Court justice suddenly shape-shifting into a goose to flirt with civilians, you have some approximation of Zeus's personal approach to romance. His love life was, frankly, a disaster of epic proportions. He married his sister Hera, a union meant to embody divine order and sacred union. Instead, it became the longest-running mythological soap opera ever documented. Zeus's affairs with goddesses, nymphs, mortals, and perhaps even inanimate objects, one suspects a myth about a particularly charming olive tree somewhere, generated a sprawling family tree filled with demigod children. Many of these children accidentally founded their own mythologies, powered by parental abandonment and divine temper. Despite all his chaos, Zeus wasn't entirely unstructured. He did function as the cosmic referee, occasionally enforcing oaths, punishing excessive hubris, and maintaining balance when the gods or mortals threatened it. His presence demanded respect and fear, yet he consistently created PR nightmares for Olympus. Zeus was both protector and predator, judge and jester, the ultimate contradiction, a god of order and chaos rolled into one. Hera, his sister wife, is equally compelling, perhaps even more so. Officially, she is the goddess of marriage, family, and childbirth, roles that seem laughably ironic given her own life. Hera's marriage was a saga of betrayal and vengeance, a celestial drama where infidelity, revenge, and transformation were routine. Turn a mortal into a cow? Easy. Curse someone to only speak in echoes? Routine. Attempt to murder baby Hercules with serpents? Just another Tuesday. But to understand Hera, you must see her in context. She was meant to symbolize sacred union, to hold Olympus together through her presence. Yet Zeus's constant infidelity forced her to navigate this role with creativity. Her coping mechanisms were elaborate, often cruel, and always precise. Hera's power, while framed around vengeance, was also protective. She safeguarded women in childbirth, upheld marriage's sanctity, at least in theory, and punished mortals who violated sacred oaths. Temples, priests, and a devoted cult followed her, honoring her as a force of divine authority, justice, and occasional wrath. In Hera, we see a paradox, a woman tasked with symbolizing unity while simultaneously enduring betrayal, navigating jealousy, and asserting dominance within a system designed to limit her autonomy. She embodies dignity, authority, and the subtle ferocity required to maintain order in a world dominated by Zeus's whims. Her story is about resilience, creativity, and the painful necessity of navigating a patriarchal cosmos with intelligence, cunning, and, sometimes, vengeance. Poseidon, meanwhile, ruled the sea. God of earthquakes, storms, and for reasons still debated by scholars and mythographers alike, horses, Poseidon is less about moral contradictions and more about sheer elemental unpredictability. His domain is fluid, violent, and sometimes serene, mirroring the ocean itself. Sailors prayed to him for calm seas, fearing wrathful storms in equal measure. Poseidon's power extended beneath waves and across the land, a reminder that divine influence in Greek mythology was omnipresent, often terrifying, and never subtle. The narratives of Zeus, Hera, and Poseidon set the stage for Olympus as a dynamic, emotionally charged, and deeply humanized pantheon. These gods are not moral paragons in the modern sense. They are amplified reflections of human desires, fears, and contradictions. Their stories explore power, lust, vengeance, responsibility, and the consequences of divine, and by extension, human, caprice. As we move through mythology, each deity's actions resonate beyond personal narratives. Zeus's affairs and Hera's reprisals influence heroes, mortals, and entire city-states. Poseidon's moods dictate the fates of sailors, traders, and armies. Olympus is not a static heaven. It is a living ecosystem of ambition, jealousy, love, and wrath. Conflicts are both personal and cosmic, and outcomes are never entirely predictable. The myths show us that power, no matter how divine, carries responsibilities, dangers, and consequences that ripple outward into every corner of existence. To truly appreciate the Greek gods, one must recognize their complexity. They are neither heroes nor villains, but intensely humanized forces. They embody contradictions, showing that wisdom can coexist with folly, mercy with cruelty, and order with chaos. They teach lessons not merely through commandments, but through the outcomes of their passions, mistakes, and triumphs. Every transformation, curse, or heroic birth carries a story, a lesson encoded in myth. As we explore further, we see the patterns repeating. Zeus's liaisons produce heroes like Heracles, whose strength and trials define entire narratives. Hera's vengeance teaches caution and resilience. Poseidon's whims remind mortals of their vulnerability, inspiring both fear and reverence. Together, the stories of these gods reveal a cosmos structured by power, desire, and consequence, a reflection of the human condition magnified across divine scale. The tales extend to countless other figures: Athena, goddess of wisdom and war; Apollo, god of the sun, music, and prophecy; Artemis, the huntress and protector of young women; Demeter, the nurturer of agriculture and cycles of life; and Hades, ruler of the underworld. Each deity has their own narrative, interacting with mortals and each other in ways that reinforce the core dynamics of Olympus: passion, vengeance, ambition, creativity, and chaos. What makes Greek mythology enduring is not merely the fantastical elements, but the deeply human themes embedded within. Olympus is exaggerated humanity. The gods embody our virtues and failings, demonstrating the consequences of excess and the rewards of prudence. They teach empathy through tragedy, resilience through suffering, and awe through power. Even the most capricious acts are woven into the moral and narrative fabric of civilization, shaping cultures, rituals, and collective imagination. By studying Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, and their divine peers, we learn about leadership, morality, and the delicate balance of responsibility and desire. These myths reveal the complexity of power and the perils of unchecked impulses. They challenge us to consider our own actions, motivations, and legacies, showing that even gods are accountable to each other, to mortals, and to the moral fabric of the cosmos. And so, the pantheon of ancient Greece continues to captivate us, not just as stories of gods, but as mirrors reflecting the intricacies of human nature. Their legends, battles, loves, and conflicts endure as cautionary tales, moral explorations, and sources of wonder. They remind us that even immortality cannot absolve folly, and that the greatest power carries the heaviest responsibility. All right, friends, settle in. Tonight, we dive deep into the chaotic, fascinating, and utterly dramatic world of the ancient Greek gods. A pantheon so lively, so flawed, and so emotionally unpredictable that it reads less like divinity and more like your extended family on steroids. These gods didn't just govern elements, people, or cities. They embodied the raw extremes of human passion magnified across cosmic scales. But before we get carried away, do me a favor. Hit like, subscribe, and comment where you're tuning in from. It's always amazing to see viewers scattered across the globe, united by curiosity, ready to explore immortality gone wonderfully wrong. Now dim the lights. Maybe flick on a fan or let the soft hum of the evening settle. This isn't a bedtime story. It's a tour through Olympus, where every argument can change the weather, every grudge can flood a city, and every romantic entanglement could end with someone turned into a tree. Let's begin with the three brothers who split the cosmos like a cosmic game of Risk: Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. Zeus, of course, rules the sky. Thunder, lightning, cosmic order, the whole 9 yards. But Zeus was not your traditional administrator. He didn't merely enforce rules. He embodied absolute power and the messy consequences of having none of the boundaries we humans rely on. The youngest son of Cronus and Rhea, Zeus narrowly escaped being swallowed at birth thanks to his mother's clever trick: a rock and a blanket swapped for the infant god. Later, Zeus overthrew Cronus, freed his siblings, and established himself as king of Olympus. Zeus wasn't merely a law enforcer. He was a walking paradox, protector and predator, lawgiver and serial romantic disaster. He transformed into animals, swans, bulls, eagles, and even clouds to seduce mortals, goddesses, and nymphs alike. The sheer audacity of Zeus's escapades is staggering, and yet, paradoxically, he also maintained the balance of the cosmos. He enforced oaths, punished arrogance, and occasionally reminded mortals that divine justice was swift and personal. Next, Poseidon, the god of the sea, earthquakes, and, inexplicably, horses. Poseidon wielded his trident like a divine battering ram, capable of sinking ships, leveling cities, or creating islands on a whim. Sailors feared him, city planners respected him, and fishermen paid him homage to avoid floods, storms, or mysterious tidal waves. Poseidon's moods mirrored the ocean itself, calm, generous, and breathtakingly beautiful one moment, violent, destructive, and utterly unpredictable the next. Poseidon also had a complicated romantic life. Nymphs, mortals, and even Medusa crossed his path. Medusa's snake hair and monstrous curse? Poseidon played a role, though he walked away free from consequence. Yet despite his volatility, Poseidon wasn't purely destructive. He was also a protector of sailors, a builder of coastal cities, and in calm moments, a god of fertility and prosperity. The Greeks depended on the sea for survival, and Poseidon reminded them daily who truly controlled it. Meanwhile, Hades, ruler of the underworld, drew the short straw in the family lottery. He got the gloomy realm where all souls ended up. Elysium for the heroic, Tartarus for the wicked, and the average soul somewhere in the middle. Contrary to popular belief, Hades was not evil. He was the ultimate middle manager, brooding, diligent, patient, and consistently overworked. While Zeus thundered and Poseidon raged, Hades quietly maintained the logistics of eternity, ensuring that no soul sneaked out or caused cosmic disturbances. Hades' most famous story involves Persephone, whom he abducted. Mythologically problematic, yes, but over time, their arrangement evolved into a surprisingly stable, if unconventional, union. Persephone spent half the year in the underworld, causing the bloom of spring, and the other half on Earth, reflecting the seasons in her travels. Hades also had a dog, Cerberus, the three-headed, poorly trained guardian of the underworld, who helped him manage souls with occasional enthusiasm. Unlike his brothers, Hades didn't seek glory, romance, or spectacle. He was quiet, respected, and slightly terrifying. Then we have Athena, goddess of wisdom, strategic warfare, and crafts. Athena was the divine embodiment of intellect, precision, and tactical foresight. Her birth alone is enough to startle. Zeus swallowed her pregnant mother, Metis, only for Athena to emerge fully grown, armored, and fully prepared to dominate both mind and battlefield. Unlike her chaotic siblings, Athena viewed war as a game of chess, favoring strategy and foresight over brute force. Athena's crafts were equally formidable. The weaving contest against Arachne, who dared challenge the goddess's skill, ended with Arachne being transformed into a spider. Athena's lessons often carried subtlety and severity, humility before divine wisdom, the consequences of arrogance, and the rewards of thoughtful, deliberate action. She eschewed romance entirely, dedicating herself to guiding heroes, defending cities, and managing divine matters with unflappable efficiency. By contrast, Ares, god of war, represents the chaotic, violent side of conflict. Where Athena planned, Ares charged. Battles under his influence were loud, bloody, and disorganized. He embodied brute force, impulsive aggression, and the terrifying unpredictability of combat. His sons, Phobos and Deimos, personified panic and terror, accompanying him into the thick of battle. Ares also had a famous affair with Aphrodite, goddess of love and beauty, a story rife with scandal, discovered via an invisible net, humiliating him before the entire pantheon. Speaking of Aphrodite, she personifies love, desire, beauty, and all the chaos that comes with irresistible allure. She has two origin stories. One, the daughter of Zeus and Dione, and another, far stranger, from the sea foam that arose when Cronus castrated Uranus. Either way, Aphrodite's beauty was legendary, her power over desire absolute. Mortals and gods alike succumbed to her influence, often with catastrophic consequences. She wielded a magical girdle that made anyone fall for her, further complicating Olympus's already tangled web of relationships. Aphrodite married Hephaestus, the hard-working, devoted god of blacksmithing, yet consistently preferred the company of Ares. Their affair, exposed in myth, became the stuff of divine gossip, a cautionary tale about desire, loyalty, and divine justice. Aphrodite's stories highlight the volatility of love, the consequences of attraction, and the complicated dynamics that drive both gods and mortals toward triumphs and tragedies alike. Beyond these major players, the Greek pantheon included gods and goddesses like Artemis, goddess of the hunt and protector of the young; Demeter, caretaker of agriculture and seasons; Dionysus, god of wine, revelry, and transformation; Hermes, the messenger, trickster, and guide to the underworld; and countless others. Each deity interacts with mortals, heroes, and each other in ways that magnify the human experience. Conflict, romance, revenge, and mercy play out on cosmic scales. Olympus itself is not static. It is a living, breathing ecosystem of emotion, ambition, and consequence. The gods' actions ripple through mortal lives, altering destinies, shaping cities, and influencing generations. Greek mythology endures because it mirrors humanity, extreme, chaotic, passionate, and moral only by the gods' standards. It is not the order of justice that defines them, but the intensity of their choices and the inevitability of consequences. By studying Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, Athena, Ares, Aphrodite, and their divine siblings, we learn about power, strategy, morality, and human nature amplified to divine extremes. Their stories remind us that even immortality comes with responsibilities, consequences, and very real dangers. Through them, ancient Greeks explored ambition, love, vengeance, and the complexities of leadership in ways that still resonate today. In the end, the Greek gods are mirrors. They reflect our flaws, magnify our passions, and dramatize the eternal tension between chaos and order, love and jealousy, strategy and brute force. They teach lessons not through instruction, but through narrative consequences. Their myths are not static. They evolve, adapt, and continue to inspire wonder, curiosity, and the enduring desire to explore what it means to be human in a universe governed by gods who are very much like us, only louder, immortal, and much more terrifyingly creative. Ancient Greece, a place where revenge, public humiliation, and divine drama were considered excellent conflict resolution strategies, offers us a pantheon of gods who are as relatable as they are terrifying. Their stories aren't just moral lessons. They're a front-row seat to chaos, desire, and cosmic management, all wrapped in immortal bodies that never quite learned to act responsibly. And today, we're going to meet some of the most compelling, hilarious, and downright chaotic gods in the Greek imagination. Aphrodite first, the goddess of love, beauty, desire, and, let's be honest, chaos. She isn't the goddess who quietly nurtures your love life. She's the one who can start wars just to win a beauty contest. Case in point, the Trojan War, arguably the most famous war in all of myth, which ignited because Aphrodite wanted a golden apple inscribed to the fairest. Paris of Troy, seduced by her, took Helen from Menelaus, and the rest, as they say, was history. Burned cities, fallen heroes, and a family-sized tragedy unfolding for decades. Aphrodite wasn't about stability. She was intoxicating, disruptive, and absolutely uninterested in moral boundaries. And yet, she also had a softer side, blessing young lovers, presiding over weddings, and making the world a more beautiful place, even if that beauty sometimes came with a side of chaos. Then there's Hephaestus, the god of fire, metalworking, and craftsmanship. While the other gods were busy seducing mortals, starting wars, and throwing lightning bolts, Hephaestus actually did work. Lots of it. His origin is complicated. In some myths, he was born deformed, so Hera, repulsed, cast him from Olympus. In others, Zeus did the same after a family spat. Either way, he fell hard, landing with a limp and a lifetime of abandonment issues. Yet, Hephaestus rose to prominence through skill and intellect. He crafted divine treasures, Zeus's thunderbolts, Poseidon's trident, Achilles' armor, and more magical items than you could list. He even trapped Hera in a golden throne to negotiate his return to Olympus, a masterclass in passive-aggressive divine politics. Despite being constantly disrespected, unappreciated, and cuckolded by his wife Aphrodite, Hephaestus embodies resilience, ingenuity, and the quiet heroism of creating order in a chaotic world. Hermes, on the other hand, is the ultimate trickster god, messenger, traveler, thief, and entrepreneur. Winged sandals, a staff with intertwined snakes, and the ability to move faster than anyone can follow make him indispensable, if a little maddening. From the moment he was born, he demonstrated cunning beyond belief, stealing Apollo's cattle, inventing the lyre from a tortoise shell, and returning to his crib, all on his very first day. Hermes managed divine logistics, smuggled souls into the underworld, and provided tools to heroes like Perseus, guiding them to success. He's commerce, negotiation, mischief, and loyalty all in one package. A morally flexible deity who gets things done and disappears before anyone can ask uncomfortable questions. Demeter, goddess of the harvest and fertility, rules not with chaos but with emotional gravity. When Demeter is happy, crops flourish. When she grieves, famine descends. Her story is intimately tied to her daughter, Persephone. When Hades abducted Persephone to the underworld, Demeter refused to allow the earth to yield crops. Humanity suffered famine until Zeus intervened and brokered a compromise. Persephone spends part of the year with Hades and part with Demeter, creating the seasons. It's a story of maternal love, grief, and the tangible effects of divine emotion. A myth that explains why life and death, growth and decay, are inextricably linked. Dionysus, god of wine, revelry, theater, and ecstasy, brings another dimension entirely: liberation through chaos. Born of Zeus and a mortal woman, his story includes being stitched into Zeus's thigh. Yes, Greek mythology is not afraid of absurd birth stories. Dionysus wandered the earth spreading viticulture, joy, and occasional madness. He was followed by a chaotic entourage, and his rituals encouraged participants to shed identity, inhibitions, and sometimes clothing. His festivals were immersive, theatrical, and transformative, early examples of collective ecstasy, sometimes with catastrophic consequences. Yet Dionysus wasn't merely hedonistic. He offered solace to outcasts and marginalized individuals, turning chaos into catharsis, art, and liberation. Artemis, goddess of the hunt, wilderness, and the moon, embodies independence, precision, and the fierce protection of boundaries. Depicted with a bow, often accompanied by wild animals, she refuses compromise. Artemis champions the wild, the untamed, and the sacredness of personal autonomy. She punishes transgression swiftly, often lethally, reflecting the seriousness of boundary violation in both human and divine terms. This pantheon, taken together, illustrates a world where emotions, desires, and personality drive cosmic order. Each god embodies human extremes magnified: love, anger, creativity, revenge, loyalty, and chaos, all expressed on a scale mortals could only witness. Their stories intertwine, clash, and complement, creating a rich tapestry of morality, psychology, and culture. They teach lessons not through lectures, but through consequences, triumphs, failures, and the raw unpredictability of their immortal existences. Even minor gods, spirits, and heroes are caught in this web, reflecting the complexity of the universe. Mortals interact with the gods, inherit their blessings or curses, and navigate a world where divine whimsy can create abundance or disaster. Mythology, in this sense, is both instruction and entertainment, a guide to living with the unpredictable forces of nature, society, and human emotion, as expressed through the gods. From Aphrodite's beauty-driven chaos to Hephaestus's quiet labor, Hermes' clever opportunism, Demeter's emotional governance, Dionysus's ecstatic liberation, and Artemis' fierce protection, the Greek pantheon offers lessons in strategy, power, consequence, and resilience. They illustrate how extreme personalities can shape worlds, and how divine narratives reflect the complexities, contradictions, and capacities of humanity itself. In the sprawling pantheon of Greek gods, where drama is as essential as oxygen and revenge is considered a valid life strategy, Artemis, Apollo, and Hestia stand out for reasons as different as their personalities. Each embodies a unique aspect of human experience magnified to divine extremes: independence, brilliance, and quiet stability. Together, they illustrate the breadth of Olympus, where chaos meets order, emotion meets precision, and power meets restraint. Artemis, the moonlit huntress. Artemis is one of the few Olympians who doesn't need thunderbolts, magic potions, or seduction to assert her authority. Precision, discipline, and a pack of divine wolves are enough. Born as the twin sister of Apollo, She made her entrance into the world with the kind of overachiever flair that immediately sets the tone for her mythological career, helping deliver her brother moments after her own birth. From that point on, Artemis swore off men entirely, rejecting marriage, romance, and any form of emotional vulnerability. Instead, she roamed the forests, hunted stags, and built a loyal band of maiden followers who shared her love for nature and disdain for drama. Artemis is best known for her purity, not in a fainting couch, prudish sense, but in a fiercely autonomous, touch me and I turn you into a stag sense. A classic example: a hunter accidentally saw her bathing. Rather than explaining boundaries politely, Artemis transformed him into a stag and let his own hunting dogs finish the lesson. Poetic justice, divine clarity, and an unmistakable message. Artemis is untouchable. Her protective nature extends beyond mere vengeance. She champions women and children, acting as a shield for the vulnerable, while punishing those who harm the innocent or disrespect nature. Her wrath is swift, poetic, and usually fatal, a form of justice that is both terrifying and admirable. As a moon goddess, Artemis embodies calm, clarity, and mystery. She illuminates the night, guiding travelers safely through darkness. If Apollo is the sun's overwhelming brilliance, Artemis is the moon's cold, focused stare, less warmth, more vigilance. She doesn't need to flaunt power, her presence is enough. Challenging her is unthinkable. Flirting with her is madness. Artemis is the ultimate independent woman, fierce, free, and utterly uninterested in the opinions of others. She doesn't live on Olympus. She lives in the wild, where her authority is absolute and her followers loyal. Apollo, the radiant overachiever. Apollo, twin brother to Artemis, embodies brilliance, creativity, and divine insecurity. The god of the sun, music, poetry, prophecy, healing, and archery, he is the poster child of Olympian ambition. Literally driving the sun across the sky in a flaming chariot each day, Apollo ensures the world experiences daylight, leaving humanity grateful and exhausted by comparison. Golden hair, golden lyre, golden chariot. His mythology radiates literal and metaphorical brightness. But beneath the glittering exterior lies a deeply emotional, sometimes dramatic deity. Apollo mourns lost loves intensely, as with Daphne, who fled him by transforming into a tree, only for Apollo to crown her leaves in a sacred tribute. His gift of prophecy is double-edged. He knows outcomes will go badly, yet reacts emotionally when they do, combining omniscience with very human insecurity. Apollo's establishment of the Oracle of Delphi showcases his flair for structured, divinely sanctioned chaos. Priestesses, inspired by divine madness, provide cryptic guidance that mortals struggle to interpret. User-friendly? Perhaps not. Dramatic and poetic? Absolutely. His complicated love life ranges from mortal pursuits to tragic overreactions, such as the transformation of Hyacinth into a flower after a discus accident, possibly caused by Apollo himself. Despite the personal drama, Apollo's contributions are vital. He is both healer and harbinger of plagues, a figure capable of destruction and restoration. His son, Asclepius, inherits the divine responsibility of medicine, extending Apollo's influence over life and death. He exemplifies the duality of brilliance, charm wrapped in insecurity, power blended with sensitivity, creativity interwoven with a short fuse. Apollo is a god who writes love songs and shoots arrows, literally, if the applause is insufficient. Hestia, the hearth of stability. In stark contrast to Artemis and Apollo, Hestia represents peace, stability, and domestic order. The goddess of the hearth, home, and domestic harmony, she is the one Olympian who doesn't make headlines for scandal or conquest. The eldest child of Cronus and Rhea, she was the first to be swallowed by her paranoid father and the last to be spat out, making her simultaneously the oldest and youngest of the Olympians, a funhouse mirror of mythological logic. Hestia rejected power struggles, curses, and romantic entanglements. Offered a throne on Olympus, she politely declined, preferring to tend the eternal flame, the symbolic and literal center of home, temple, and city. Her presence is quiet but vital, the invisible stabilizer of divine and mortal worlds alike. Without her, the chaos of Olympus might have destroyed itself entirely. Where Artemis embodies autonomy and vengeance, and Apollo embodies brilliance and dramatic flair, Hestia embodies steadfastness. She quietly ensures that rituals, domestic life, and societal order function. No temples bear her name. No scandalous myths revolve around her. Hestia's power lies in her constancy, a reminder that not all divinity requires overt spectacle to be profound. Interwoven narratives, the balance of Olympus. Together, Artemis, Apollo, and Hestia illustrate the spectrum of divine existence. Artemis is autonomy and protection, Apollo is brilliance and emotion, and Hestia is stability and quiet influence. Each interacts with mortals differently. Artemis punishes and protects, Apollo inspires and destroys, Hestia nurtures and maintains. Their stories reveal key truths about Greek mythology. Gods amplify human traits to extremes, moral lessons are intertwined with dramatic narrative, and divine personality can shape the world just as much as cosmic events. Artemis teaches boundaries, justice, and independence. Apollo teaches creativity, brilliance, and the consequences of hubris and emotion. Hestia teaches the value of restraint, stability, and service to the collective. Even today, these figures resonate because they represent archetypes still present in modern life. The fiercely independent protector, the overachieving visionary, and the quiet stabilizer who makes everything possible. They remind us that power manifests in many forms, from action and charisma to patience and constancy. In sum, Artemis, Apollo, and Hestia are not just characters in myth. They are embodiments of the complexity, beauty, and contradictions of life itself. The forests, sunlight, and hearth fires of Olympus are all shaped by their influence, demonstrating that mythology is as much about personality as it is about divine power. They are fierce, radiant, and steady, the pillars of a world in perpetual motion, guiding mortals and gods alike. In the ancient Greek pantheon, some gods thrived on spectacle, others on chaos, but Hestia lived quietly in the background. She was the goddess of the hearth, of home, of hospitality, and of the sacred duty of caring for guests. In a world where survival often hinged on warmth and sustenance, she was essential. When mortals invoked her name, their fires stayed lit, their bread did not burn, and perhaps, if the gods smiled kindly, relatives would leave on time. Unlike many Olympians, Hestia did not transform mortals into beasts or objects to teach ironic moral lessons. She asked for nothing in return, nor sought vengeance. Her power lay in her constancy, in the gentle rhythm of everyday life. She had a well-swept floor, a calm mind, and a presence that made each meal sacred. Every city honored her flame at its heart. Every household whispered a quiet, grateful prayer. She was the calm amidst divine chaos, the one keeping the lights on while the rest of Olympus argued. If the Greek gods were a modern office, Hestia would be the diligent office manager. Zeus might be the CEO with boundary issues, Athena, the overqualified strategist, Dionysus, the HR nightmare. Amid endless arguments over petty grievances and who claimed which temple, Hestia kept the coffee warm, the hearth fires burning, and everything functional. In her quiet diligence lay a profound lesson. Power need not clamor for attention, and influence can exist in stillness. And yet, while Hestia represented constancy, another goddess embodied transformation, Persephone. She was life and death, bloom and frost, flower and crown, throne and iron. Born to Demeter, goddess of the harvest, Persephone initially existed in a realm of life, growth, and fertility. But as with many Greek myths, fate intervened cruelly. Hades, lord of the underworld, spied her among spring blooms and decided she would be his wife. No discussion, no courtship, no mortal niceties. He seized her and brought her to his dark realm. Demeter, overcome with grief and fury, scoured the earth for her daughter. When no one could reveal Persephone's location, she withdrew her blessings. Crops failed, famine spread, and mortals starved. Even Zeus intervened, not out of compassion for Demeter or Persephone, but because no sacrifices reached Olympus while humanity perished. A compromise emerged. Persephone could return to the living world, but only if she had eaten nothing in the underworld. Fate, however, had a sly sense of humor. She had consumed 6 pomegranate seeds, binding her to the underworld for part of the year. Thus began her dual existence. Half the year on Earth, ushering in spring and summer with Demeter, half the year in the underworld, casting the shadow of fall and winter. The ancient Greeks, perhaps unwittingly, invented seasonal melancholy with a single myth. Over time, Persephone embraced her role as Queen of the Dead. She was no longer the helpless flower-gatherer kidnapped by Hades. She became a ruler, calm, firm, quietly powerful. Mortals prayed to her for mercy, for safe passage, for understanding. She embodied transformation, not just seasonal, but emotional. She was the shift from innocence to authority, from being taken to taking control. She walked between blooms and bones with equal grace, the reason flowers grew and withered alike. Persephone was the goddess of duality. Yet contrast this with Psyche, a mortal girl whose story mirrored divine intrigue. Before she could even understand the word goddess, people had begun comparing her to one. Her beauty was so extraordinary that mortals traveled miles just to glimpse her face, whispering that she could not possibly be mere human. Statues of Aphrodite gathered dust, while Psyche was worshipped in life. But for Psyche, adoration was a cage. She wandered through towns and gardens, ghost-like, admired yet untouched. Men looked upon her with awe, never affection. Even her family, proud yet uneasy, watched as their youngest daughter remained unattainable. Her sisters married, bore children, and lived warm, grounded lives. Psyche craved the same, but no mortal dared to court her. Her beauty was not just a gift, it was a curse. It separated her from connection, from intimacy, from a soul who might love her truly. She watched the horizon at dusk, dreaming quietly of a life she might never have. No priest, no oracle, no stranger offered guidance, until one day, a goddess intervened. But this was no offer of affection. It was a summons to danger, to a web of revenge and divine manipulation. Aphrodite, goddess of desire and seduction, had begun to watch. Her temples fell silent, her worshippers vanished, and mortals now knelt before a human girl. Psyche, in her fragile humanity, had become a rival to a deity. Aphrodite's envy turned to hatred. Beauty, in her eyes, was power, and Psyche wielded it with innocent brilliance. She was an insult carved into flesh, a living reminder that divinity could be challenged. Aphrodite summoned her son, Eros, the god of love, not the gentle affection of human romance, but the chaotic, merciless force that fractured kingdoms and hearts alike. She commanded Eros to make Psyche fall in love with the most hideous, vile creature imaginable. No mercy would be shown. Aphrodite's plan was cruel, deliberate, and absolute, to remind mortals and gods alike that divine authority could not be mocked, even unwittingly. Thus began Psyche's journey, a mortal girl caught in the machinations of gods, her beauty both blessing and curse, her life a collision of desire, envy, and destiny. She would confront the cruel games of immortals, navigate impossible trials, and slowly, painfully, discover the strength within herself. Where Hestia's power lay in quiet constancy, Persephone's in transformation, Psyche's lay in resilience, endurance, and the unyielding pursuit of connection. In this world of gods and mortals, beauty was a weapon, hospitality a shield, and transformation a destiny. Each figure, Hestia, Persephone, Psyche, embodied essential truths about human existence: the power of stability, the inevitability of change, and the perilous brilliance of unmatched allure. They remind us that survival, love, and legacy are not always about spectacle. Sometimes, the most profound power is subtle, patient, and quietly unyielding. Hestia, the keeper of hearth and home, teaches us that devotion without drama is divine. Persephone, the queen of life and death, shows that even trauma can become authority. Psyche, the mortal girl rivaling a goddess, proves that beauty and grace, though envied and cursed, can endure trials beyond imagination. In their stories, Greek mythology reveals its timeless truth. Power takes many forms, and those who seem quiet or vulnerable may hold the universe in their hands. In the quiet hours of night, under the silvery gaze of the moon, Eros, the god of love, moved silently through the mortal world. His mother, Aphrodite, had given him a command, a cruel, precise instruction born of jealousy and divine wrath. "Let her feel what it's like to be mocked by love," she had ordered, her voice like molten gold laced with venom. Psyche, a mortal girl whose beauty had become a threat to her temples, was to fall for the most vile, grotesque creature imaginable. Eros, dutiful son, should obey. But even gods are not immune to surprise. When he found Psyche asleep in her chamber, candlelight flickering across her features like water, something in him faltered. Her beauty was unparalleled, too perfect, too innocent. Even the god of love, who had pierced 1,000 hearts, felt his own skip, an unfamiliar thrum in his chest that did not belong to him. He raised his bow, the quiver heavy with divine arrows, but fate intervened in the quietest of ways. A slip of the fingers, a prick of the arrow against his skin, a single drop of blood, enough to undo everything. The god of desire, master of passion, had fallen victim to his own power. Eros' heart, which had shattered countless mortal and immortal loves alike, now throbbed with a longing he could neither name nor resist. This was not part of the plan. This was forbidden. Yet, in that instant, a new resolve took root. Psyche would no longer be a pawn of his mother. She would be his. He would protect her, love her in secret, keep her safe from the cruel eyes of Olympus. But even as this new path crystallized, he understood the price. If Aphrodite discovered his betrayal, there would be no mercy. Not for him, and certainly not for Psyche. So he vanished before she could stir, leaving behind only the echo of his presence and the warmth of a wound that marked the beginning of a love hidden from the world. From that night forward, Eros watched her from the shadows, guarding, longing, yet silent. Psyche's life, already strange under the weight of her divine attention, became stranger still. Her beauty, once celebrated, now seemed a mark of divine scrutiny rather than blessing. Her family, anxious and fearful, sought guidance from Apollo's oracle. The words returned were merciless in their finality. Psyche was not to marry a mortal. Her fate was to wed a monster, a being so feared that even gods would hesitate in his presence. The proclamation fell like a hammer on her household. Her family wept, her sisters gasped, and Psyche, ever composed, stood silent as if carved from wind-blown stone. She had known admiration, reverence, and awe, but love, the tender touch that humans called destiny, had never found her. Yet even in resignation, Psyche obeyed. She ascended the mountaintop, a bride dressed in white, prepared to meet a fate the world could neither soften nor explain. Her heart, delicate as spun glass, endured the isolation without protest. But love, even when forbidden, finds a way. And Eros, from his celestial vantage, began to weave a new destiny, one invisible to the eyes of men and gods alike. He conjured a palace, hidden from mortal and divine sight, a sanctuary of illusion and tranquility. Here, he would love her not as a god, not as a figure of terror, but as a silent presence, a guardian from the shadows. Psyche would know warmth, comfort, and tenderness, but never his name, never his face. To reveal himself would be to break the fragile balance of safety and secrecy. The god of love, so familiar with heartbreak as a spectator, now feared it as a participant. When the winds lifted Psyche from the mountaintop and set her within the palace, she expected terror. She expected the monster of prophecy. Instead, she found serenity. The palace rose like a vision of moonlight over still water. Gardens glowed with impossible flowers, paths of polished stone wound through forests of light, and halls shimmered with a spectral elegance that defied mortal construction. Servants she could not see attended to her quietly, offering sustenance, warmth, and care as if guided by some invisible hand. "Do not be afraid. You are safe," a voice said, deep, tender, resonant. Psyche's heart leapt, though her mind could not yet name the source. The voice belonged to her unseen husband, the monster foretold by prophecy, yet no snarling beast, no cruel visage. Just protection, tenderness, and presence. Days turned into weeks. Nights were filled with whispers, laughter, gentle touches she could not see. The intimacy was profound, love without sight, affection without form. Each encounter left her yearning, aching for more, yet he remained unseen, untouchable in full reality. Psyche's mind, trained by years of reverence and fear, accepted the paradox with quiet grace. She could not name him, and he would not name himself. To do so would undo the fragile paradise they shared. Yet even paradise has cracks. Human curiosity, family bonds, and the natural pull of connection tugged at her. Her sisters, bearing affection disguised as intrusion, crossed the thresholds of the invisible palace. Eros, torn between obedience to her wishes and the demands of love, reluctantly allowed it, issuing a single warning. "Do not let their words poison what we have. They will try to unravel your trust." Psyche's reunion with her mortal kin was brief yet potent. She was alive, more radiant than before, draped in silks finer than any queen's. The sisters' awe was mingled with envy, admiration, and fear. And Psyche, suspended between her mortal past and her divine-touched present, began to feel the fragile tension of the life she had inherited. She lived in two worlds, one of unseen love and mysterious safety, and one of human connection, warm yet perilous. Eros watched from the shadows, heart heavy with guilt and desire. He had meant to protect her, yet the gods' cruel machinations had made him complicit in a delicate web of secrecy. Love, he realized, was not mere desire. It was vigilance, sacrifice, and restraint. Each day he loved her from the darkened corners. Each night he offered comfort without claim. And Psyche, for all her beauty and grace, could only sense the shadowed devotion, the weight of a love that could never fully declare itself. Time in the palace was strange, fluid, and unmeasured. Psyche's days were filled with laughter, music, and feasts, yet she remained alone in the fullest sense. Each night, her unseen husband whispered, touched, laughed, and loved. Each morning, he disappeared before the sun could witness the forbidden intimacy. She felt the paradox acutely. She loved someone she could not see, and yet she longed to glimpse him more than anything in the world. A warning, gentle yet firm, came one evening. "See not," he said. "If you see me, I must leave you forever." And Psyche, in the tenderness of her heart, obeyed. Yet curiosity, that quiet human trait, festered beneath her devotion. She wondered how a creature foretold as a monster could offer such care. She wondered why love must hide its face. Thus the tale continued. Psyche, caught between mortal and immortal, desire and fear, curiosity and obedience. Eros, torn between passion and prudence, love and divine law, sought to navigate a path without end, each step shadowed by the consequences of a mother's wrath and the cruel dictates of Olympus. This story, of hidden love, of trust and obedience, of the cruel ironies of prophecy and divine will, speaks to the deepest truths of the human heart. Love, when it comes unbidden, can defy expectation, overcome prophecy, and even bend the will of gods. Yet, in its purest form, it is patient, quiet, and shadowed by sacrifice. Eros, the god of love, discovered in Psyche a force that no arrow could command. Psyche, the mortal girl of divine beauty, discovered that trust and vulnerability are the true trials of the heart. In the invisible palace, amid gardens that glowed and halls that whispered, they began their timeless dance. Love hidden, intimacy unspoken, devotion unseen. The mortal and the divine, entwined by fate and secrecy, discovered the paradox of passion. It is most powerful when it is also most constrained. Psyche had never known love as mortals knew it. She had been worshipped for her beauty, adored from afar, yet untouched by the intimacy that filled ordinary lives. When Eros had come to her, unseen and silent, she had been embraced in a quiet paradise of moonlit gardens, glowing palaces, and invisible servants. Every night, he touched her, spoke to her, whispered laughter and promises she could not fully name. She trusted him completely, her heart surrendered to the voice in the dark. And yet, even in the most enchanted seclusion, human curiosity is a force the gods cannot command. Her sisters arrived one day, carried by winds as gentle as whispers. They embraced her with nervous laughter, hiding envy behind brittle smiles. Their questions came sweetly, carefully, each word sharpened with the edge of doubt. "Where is your husband?" one asked. Psyche, smiling, replied, "He is unwell. He comes only at night. I have never seen him." The sisters froze. "Never seen him?" They gasped, exchanging glances heavy with calculation. What if he is hideous? A beast? Or worse, one of the gods, mocking you in secret? Their concern dripped like honey, sweet but deadly. Each word planted a seed, subtle yet insidious. He keeps you hidden, blind, dependent. Is that love or imprisonment? They kissed her cheeks, whispered advice like a charm, and left her with a single, irresistible suggestion. Take a lamp one night. See for yourself if love truly exists behind the shadows. Psyche could not sleep that night. The moonlight filtered through her window, but it brought no comfort. In the quiet of the invisible palace, wrapped in silken sheets, she felt the warmth of his arms curled around her, his steady breath against her neck. Yet her mind roared louder than the soft rhythm of his heart. Her sister's words echoed endlessly. What if he's a monster? What if he is using you? The trust she had given blindly now felt fragile, uncertain. Was this love, or mere surrender to comfort? Compelled by an insistent curiosity she could not resist, Psyche rose from their shared bed. Her bare feet kissed the cold floor. In her hand, she carried a small bronze oil lamp, already lit, its flame trembling in the dim light. With each step, her pulse thundered. She approached him as silently as snowfall, her heart both heavy and light, trembling with anticipation and fear. When the lamp's glow fell across his form, she gasped. Not a monster, not a cruel god. He lay on his back, golden curls tangling across a pillow, lips curved in peaceful slumber. And upon his shoulders, wings feathered divine folded like secret banners, their soft shimmer catching the light. It was Eros, the god of love, and he had chosen her, not a phantom, not a deception, but a being of beauty and divinity who had trusted her to love without sight. Her eyes filled with tears, guilt, not fear. He had warned her, trusted her, loved her silently, and she had doubted. She leaned closer, wanting to kiss him, to whisper apologies into the warmth of his skin. But fate, ever cruel, intervened. A drop of hot oil slipped from the lamp and scorched his bare shoulder. Eros awoke with a cry of pain and heartbreak. His wings flared, eyes wide with betrayal. "You broke your promise," he said, voice hollow and quivering. "You trusted fear more than love." "I'm sorry," Psyche whispered, collapsing to her knees, heart shattered. But it was too late. Eros recoiled, his radiant glow dimming as the invisible palace dissolved around her. The sanctuary that had cradled their love vanished, leaving her alone on a barren hillside. The lamp burned warm in her hands, a fragile reminder of the intimacy she had destroyed through doubt. Psyche wandered, barefoot and broken, across a world that now seemed colder, harsher. The lush gardens, silken halls, and comforting shadows were gone. The voice that had soothed her to sleep no longer answered her calls. Rivers, forests, and winds heard her cries, but none could guide her. Even the sky offered no comfort, only the vast indifference of the mortal and immortal worlds alike. Returning to her father's house, she found no solace. Rumors had already spread. Her sisters, triumphant in their subtle machinations, claimed she had married a demon and lost everything. No one believed her tale of love, gods, and invisible husbands. The mortal world, ever skeptical, dismissed her story. She could not remain among them. The palace was gone, her husband vanished. Her love, however, had not been extinguished. Determined, Psyche resolved to seek him wherever he had gone, even if it meant challenging Olympus itself. The only being with knowledge, with influence over her fate, was the source of all her suffering. Aphrodite, goddess of desire, vanity, and jealousy incarnate. Psyche approached the goddess with a mixture of fear and resolve, finding her not in grand temples of worship, but in a secluded garden of mirrors, reflecting her own flawless beauty endlessly. Aphrodite, aware of her visitor, did not turn. "I warned you once," the goddess said coldly, eyes as sharp as obsidian. "And still, you touched what was mine." "I love him," Psyche confessed, voice trembling, "and I will do anything to earn back his trust." The goddess laughed, her voice both musical and cruel. "You love him? You mean the sun, the very embodiment of desire. You betrayed the gods and yet dare to seek redemption? Foolish mortal." Her laughter faded into a dangerous calm. "Very well. You shall suffer. You shall be tested. Perhaps at the end of your trials, you will be worthy of my son." Thus began Psyche's ordeal, not of brute strength, but of devotion, patience, and endurance. Aphrodite's first trial was deceptively simple. She led Psyche to a vast storage chamber, where mountains of mixed seeds, barley, millet, wheat, poppy, and lentils, covered the floor in chaotic abundance. "Separate them," Aphrodite commanded, voice laced with disdain. "Every grain to its proper pile. Fail, and you shall never see my son again." The task seemed impossible. Psyche knelt and began, finger by finger, sorting seeds that sprawled endlessly, the hours stretching into days. But the gods, ever attentive to acts of devotion, were watching. Sacred ants, servants of Demeter herself, emerged silently from the shadows, carrying out the work Psyche could not finish. They organized the seeds into perfect rows, allowing her task to be completed. Psyche did not see them. She could only feel the strange relief and mysterious assistance, the invisible threads of the divine guiding her hands. Thus began the first of many trials, each one testing not only Psyche's endurance, but her faith, cunning, and moral integrity. Each test was designed to erode her spirit, to see whether her devotion to love could withstand cruelty, doubt, and impossible odds. Psyche's journey, marked by suffering, perseverance, and quiet courage, mirrored the trials of mortals and gods alike. The price of desire, the cost of trust, and the transformative power of unwavering commitment. Through these trials, Psyche discovered that love was not simply passion or beauty, but patience, sacrifice, and resilience. Her heart, tested and tempered, became capable of facing gods and monsters alike. And in this crucible of divine trials, Psyche's mortal fragility began to reveal a strength that rivaled the mortals. Psyche's hands trembled as she knelt before the chaotic mountain of seeds, despair pressing against her chest like stone. The task seemed impossible, an absurd, endless sea of barley, lentils, millet, poppy seeds, and wheat, each grain indistinguishable from the next. Aphrodite, cruel in her whims, had spoken with lazy amusement, as if Psyche's mortal effort meant nothing. "Separate them, every grain into its own pile. Fail, and you shall never see my son again." Hours passed, then days, as Psyche worked. Her fingers cramped, her eyes blurred, yet she did not falter. And in the quiet of her labor, nature itself seemed to stir on her behalf. Perhaps it was pity. Perhaps it was the sudden, inexplicable recognition of her devotion. From cracks in the walls and crevices in the floor emerged hundreds of tiny legs. Ants, sacred to Demeter, goddess of harvest and life, moved with astonishing precision. They formed living rivers across the chaotic seeds, dividing barley from lentils, wheat from millet, poppy from bean, until in minutes what had seemed impossible became flawless order. When Aphrodite returned at dusk, she expected failure, perhaps even the humiliation of watching the mortal girl falter. Instead, perfection greeted her eyes. Her lips twitched with something between anger and begrudging amusement. "You had help?" she demanded. Psyche bowed her head humbly. "I did what I could," she said simply. The goddess's smile faded into cold calculation. There would be more trials, harder, deadlier, each designed to test the very fiber of Psyche's resolve. The second trial was a test of courage and cunning. Aphrodite led Psyche to a river that shimmered beneath the afternoon sun, winding through a meadow where golden rams grazed. "Bring me a tuft of their wool," Aphrodite commanded, voice sharp. "But beware, their horns are sharp as spears, and their eyes burn with the wrath of the sacred. Many have tried, none have succeeded." Psyche approached the edge of the meadow with caution. The rams moved like living fire, their hooves cracking against stone, growls resonating deep in the earth. To enter the meadow in daylight was certain death. She sank to her knees, fear gnawing at her resolve. And then, a gentle, almost imperceptible whisper reached her ears. It was the spirit of the river, a presence as old as the waters themselves. "Do not enter while the sun is high. Wait until twilight. Then gather the wool snagged upon the thorny branches. No beast will notice." Hope returned, fragile yet luminous. Psyche waited, counting the slow passage of hours until darkness softened the meadow's edges. One by one, the golden rams wandered into the shade, resting as the twilight wrapped around them. Psyche crept forward, her movements measured, and collected tufts of fleece caught on brambles and bark. The wool shimmered in the moonlight, precious and untouchable. Returning to Aphrodite, Psyche presented the golden treasure with quiet dignity. The goddess's eyes narrowed, suspicion mingling with something like curiosity. "You live again," she muttered. Psyche bowed, her silent strength a quiet rebuke to the goddess's cruelty. Love had taught her resilience, patience, and courage, qualities even Aphrodite had once possessed but perhaps now forgotten. The third trial plunged Psyche into danger more immediate than any she had faced. Aphrodite's voice, colder than the frost of winter, spoke. "Fetch me water, not from any well, not from any ordinary stream, but from the river Styx itself." Psyche paled. The Styx was the boundary of life and death, a river feared even by gods. Its black waters churned like living serpents, whispering curses, singing of souls lost and never returned. Guarding its banks were creatures whose very wings struck terror, monstrous sentinels, trained in centuries of divine vigilance. The mortal girl, undaunted, journeyed to the cliff where the river coiled below. Its current hissed, steam rising in spectral tendrils that carried the lament of the dead. Psyche pressed against the cliffside, trembling, clutching the crystal vial Aphrodite had handed her. How could she hope to survive, let alone return? And then, as if the universe recognized her unwavering devotion, a shimmer appeared. From a crack in the rock emerged a golden eagle, immense and regal, its eyes like molten thunder, sent by Zeus himself. Without a word, the eagle seized the vial and descended into the peril below. Moments later, it returned, the vial filled with the sacred waters, landing in Psyche's hands. She did not ask why, nor did she doubt. Perhaps even gods respected the endurance of love. The fourth and final trial demanded the impossible. Psyche was to journey into the underworld itself, to petition Persephone, queen of the dead, for a box containing the gift of beauty. Aphrodite's voice cut through the air like steel. "Bring me her gift. If you succeed, perhaps you may see my son again. Fail, and your existence will end in oblivion." Psyche, trembling yet resolute, stepped toward the gates of Hades' realm. Even the bravest mortals avoided the underworld. knowing that those who entered seldom returned. Shadows twisted around her feet, and the whispers of lost souls clung to her like a cold, oppressive fog. She kept her purpose in mind. Each step forward was a step toward Eros, toward the love that had been taken from her, toward redemption not only for herself, but for the heart she had almost destroyed. Guided by sympathetic whispers, echoes of gods who understood, perhaps even admired, the endurance of mortal courage, Psyche navigated the treacherous banks of the underworld, past rivers of sorrow, past lamenting spirits, and through the silent halls where time itself seemed suspended. The final task was not merely to retrieve a box, but to prove that love, patience, and devotion could endure even against death itself. And so Psyche, mortal girl, alone but steadfast, carried on into the shadowed heart of the underworld, her resolve a beacon that even Hades' queen could not ignore. Each step tested her endurance, her courage, and her loyalty, proving that the heart capable of true love can face even the deepest darkness and return, transformed, ready for the union of mortal and divine. Psyche's steps faltered as she approached the jagged cliff, the shadow of the underworld stretching before her like a wound across the world. The air was thick, heavy with silence, not smoke, not wind, only a quiet that seemed to press against her lungs. She gripped the crystal vial Aphrodite had handed her, small but impossibly heavy with expectation. The goddess' mocking words echoed faintly in her mind. Enough to show you tried. But Psyche did not falter. Even when the wind carried the screech of winged sentinels above, claws glinting in the dying light, she did not step back. And then, like a ripple through the world, a shimmer appeared. A high, piercing hum filled the air, reverberating through stone and soul. From a narrow crack in the cliff emerged a creature that seemed impossibly large yet impossibly graceful. A golden eagle, eyes burning with intelligence and command, sent by Zeus himself, the eagle of thunder and kings. Its wings spread wide, blotting out the remaining light, and it descended without a sound of hesitation. Without a word, it took the vial from Psyche. Its wings carried it down the perilous cliffside, past the sentries whose shrieks went unanswered, for even death respected the eagle's command. Minutes passed, stretched to eternity, until it returned, talons clasping the sealed vial brimming with the sacred waters, shimmering with a faint divine glow. Psyche's hands trembled as she took it. She did not question the eagle. Perhaps it was gratitude for love or recognition of courage. Perhaps even gods could see when devotion was true. When she returned to Aphrodite, the goddess received the vial in silence. Psyche's lips were pressed together, her eyes lowered, humility entwined with exhaustion. Another trial complete. Yet Aphrodite's voice cut through the quiet like winter wind. The final challenge awaited, and it would take Psyche where mortals feared to tread, the underworld. You will go to Hades' realm, Aphrodite commanded. You will request a gift from Persephone herself, a box containing her beauty. Fail, and your life is forfeit. Psyche's heart did not falter. Even now, every fiber of her being burned with purpose. If this path, shrouded in shadow and peril, was the one that led to Eros, she would walk it, unflinching. Whispers guided her along hidden paths, some claiming to be Demeter, some unseen spirits of kindness. She found the entrance at last, a cave gaping like a forgotten scar in the world's surface. She carried with her the tools of mortal respect, 2 coins for Charon, ferryman of souls, and barley cakes for Cerberus, the 3-headed hound whose gaze alone could unravel the courage of men. Every step deeper drained her warmth, as if the very earth sought to claim her spirit. Thin, hollow shades drifted past her, echoes of lives long extinguished, impossible to touch or heed. At the river, Charon accepted her coins silently, guiding her across waters that shimmered with sorrow and lost memories. When Cerberus appeared at the threshold of Persephone's palace, its 3 mouths snarling, Psyche offered the cakes. The monstrous guardian sniffed, then licked his blood-stained jaws, settling to lie obediently, as though acknowledging her courage. Inside, the air was dense, heavy with the weight of eternity. On a throne of polished obsidian sat Persephone, the queen of the dead, her eyes deep pools of knowledge, melancholy, and quiet authority. "You come for beauty," the queen said. Her voice was measured, not cruel. "But at what cost?" "I do not seek it for myself," Psyche replied steadily, feeling the weight of her journey settle into her bones. "I must deliver it to Aphrodite." Persephone regarded her, and then with a hand of delicate grace, she handed Psyche a small, unmarked, sealed box. Yet the weight of it was unbearable, the sense of power within almost suffocating. "Do not open this," the queen warned. "It is not meant for your eyes." Psyche bowed, careful not to speak further. The path back to the mortal world, to Aphrodite, was shadowed with temptation. Each step made the box pulse in her hands. A flicker of curiosity, of doubt, gnawed at her. Light touched her face again, the first she had felt in days, and she faltered. Could it truly harm her to peek inside? Surely, this was the final key, the last element to prove herself worthy of Eros. She hesitated, then succumbed. The moment she lifted the lid, darkness spilled forth, a mist of sleep. Not mere slumber, but the deathless sleep of the underworld, crafted by Persephone to preserve her power. Psyche did not cry out. She did not scream. She collapsed softly onto the grass at the edge of the mortal world, frozen in an eternal pause, her breath stilled, her heart suspended between life and death. Her curiosity had trapped her, and for a moment, that might have been the end. But love, true love, does not perish so easily. Far above, in Olympus, Eros had not forgotten. The wound from the oil lamp incident had healed, yet his heart remained tethered to Psyche. When he learned she had entered the underworld, he knew without doubt she had risked all for him. Defying Aphrodite, braving death itself, this was no mortal girl. This was a queen. Wings of gold blazed through the skies as Eros surged from Olympus, lightning splitting clouds at his passage. He found her lying motionless, a marble statue kissed by the dusk. His hands shook, and tears fell, tears of rage, of longing, of love far too immense for words. Gently, he lifted the box, resealing it with divine care. Without hesitation, he pressed his lips to hers. Not a spell, not a charm, simply a kiss, a promise, a plea, a memory. Psyche's eyes fluttered open. Breath returned to her lungs. Her hands found his before a word could pass. "Eros," she whispered, voice trembling with relief and wonder. "I never stopped loving you," he replied. Their embrace was the culmination of trials, of devotion, of enduring hope. Olympus watched, and even gods who had scoffed now understood. Love had crossed the boundaries of mortal and divine, duty and desire. Aphrodite stormed into the court, rage blazing like wildfire. "This mortal," she cried, "has mocked the gods, manipulated my son, and defied sacred law. She must be erased." But Zeus, king of the gods, raised his hand, calm as eternity. "There is power in a love that endures," he said. "She has passed every trial, suffered and risen, proved her heart and soul. Mortal though she was, she has loved as gods love." Eros and Psyche, united, nodded. Zeus summoned a goblet of ambrosia. "Drink," he commanded Psyche, "and you shall no longer be mortal. You will carry eternity in your heart. Your trials remain, as all trials remain in the stories that shape us, but your soul will join the divine." Psyche took the cup. Warmth spread through her, not fiery, but blooming, filling every fiber of her being. Her heartbeat slowed, deepened, steady as a bell tolling across centuries. Her senses expanded, her essence transformed. She was no longer mortal. She was divine, and she was Eros' equal. Together, they stood, radiant and eternal. Olympus had witnessed the impossible. A mortal girl had defied the gods, endured death, and emerged worthy of immortality. Aphrodite's fury softened into acknowledgement, grudging respect even in her pride. Love, patient, enduring, and unyielding, had triumphed. Psyche and Eros ascended together, bridging worlds of mortal and divine, love and duty, fear and courage. Their story would be sung through the ages, a testament to the power of devotion, the strength of trust, and the enduring flame of love that neither gods nor death could ever extinguish. The golden light of Olympus bathed the mountaintop in its eternal glow as Psyche, radiant beyond mortal reckoning, stood before the assembly of gods. The air was alive with whispers, some awed, some incredulous, as every Olympian present beheld what had once been a mortal girl, now fully divine. Eros, the god of love, took her hand gently, and in the presence of the deities whose power had once shaped her destiny, they were declared husband and wife. For once, love had not ended in tragedy. It had been crowned in triumph. Psyche drank from the ambrosia cup offered by Zeus himself, the nectar of immortality, and as it passed through her lips, warmth unfurled in her chest. Her body transformed, yes, but it was her spirit that shimmered most. Her skin reflected the light of distant stars, her eyes now holding galaxies, spinning with the memory of every trial she had endured. Where once there had been tears, now burned quiet, radiant determination. The gods who had once scoffed at her mortal birth stood silent, awestruck. Long memory now had a new story. Never before had a mortal, through devotion and courage, earned a place among the immortals. Psyche was no longer the girl who had walked among mortals, no longer the beautiful maiden whose visage had stolen the breath of strangers. She was Psyche, the immortal, the goddess of the soul itself, her name a testament to life, breath, and love that endured beyond all limits. Even Aphrodite, the goddess who had once plotted her downfall, could no longer deny her. Psyche had faced death, temptation, betrayal, and isolation, and through it all, had chosen love over pride, hope over despair. Eros stepped forward, radiant and unwavering. "She is no rival to your beauty, mother," he said, voice firm but gentle. "She is something far greater, the soul that understands love." The tension that had thrummed across Olympus melted, though not entirely. Aphrodite's silence, grudging though it was, acknowledged that some truths could not be denied. And Zeus, king of the gods, spoke solemnly, declaring Psyche the goddess of the soul, her name itself a living testament to what the mortal heart could achieve. The grand feast that followed was like nothing Olympus had ever known. Nectar flowed in silver rivers, stars themselves seemed to descend in celebration, and the fates, those silent arbiters of destiny, smiled for the first time in centuries. Psyche stood beside Eros, no longer uncertain, no longer afraid. She was his equal, radiant with divine authority. Together they gazed upon the skies, upon the mortal world below, guardians of love and the soul's journey. From their union came a child, a daughter destined to embody delight, joy, and eternal wonder, a reminder that love and the soul, when nurtured, bore fruit that could not be contained even by Olympus. Psyche had once walked among thorns and shadows. Now she danced in eternal light, not because she was perfect, but because she had loved fully, suffered, and risen again. The mortal world, once indifferent to her trials, now carried the echoes of her courage. Temples whispered her name. Lovers invoked her before marriages, births, and even funerals. Psyche was no mere goddess. She was the living proof that the soul could survive despair, could rise from the underworld of grief and loss, and carry love forward into eternity. Her journey had begun with a curse, beauty she had not asked for, envy from sisters, divine punishment, isolation, and sorrow. She had been adored, yet never touched, punished for being loved, yet punished again for loving. And still, she pressed on. Even when heartbreak tore her spirit, even when faith faltered, she did not surrender. Eros, the god who had once wielded love as a weapon, learned from her. Love was not a tool for chaos, not a secret to be hidden, not a game in shadows. It was light, but only if faced, fully, with courage and devotion. Together, they taught Olympus itself a lesson long forgotten. Love does not belong solely to the gods. It belongs to anyone willing to fight for it, to endure, to rise. Across Greece, Prayers began to include her name, not just Aphrodite, but Psyche, the goddess who had walked the mortal path, who had suffered and risen, who had transformed her trials into power and her sorrow into strength. She became the patron of those who love against the odds, who trust despite fear, who endure even when the world conspires to break them. And so Psyche's story became eternal. It lived in the very word itself, in the breath of life, in the study of the soul, psychology. It lived in every whispered story of love tested and triumphing, in every human heart that dared to choose trust over fear, forgiveness over pride, love over silence. In every moment where mortals sought courage, Psyche and Eros lived on, not as statues of marble, but as living echoes, guiding those who would follow. Long before she became immortal, before her name was sung in temples, before her trials shaped myth, Psyche had been mortal, a girl whose beauty existed uninvited, like sunlight through stone. Her presence had been quiet yet undeniable, her gaze holding oceans calm before storms. Every choice, every step, every act of endurance had carved her path from mortality to divinity. When she faced Aphrodite's wrath, traversed the treacherous underworld, and opened the forbidden box, Psyche's trials were not mere challenges. They were a test of the soul itself. Each trial reshaped her understanding of love, loyalty, and self. Each confrontation with fear, despair, or deception taught her endurance and compassion. When Eros returned, defying his mother, it was not just a victory of love, but a triumph of the mortal spirit elevated to divinity. In Olympus, the immortal assembly observed in awe as the mortal who had challenged the gods' expectations claimed her place. Psyche's union with Eros was celebrated not merely as a love story, but as proof that the human heart could reach beyond fate, beyond divine caprice, and touch eternity. Her name became a symbol, a living testament to the strength, courage, and enduring power of love. And through centuries, her story endured. Lovers, poets, philosophers, and dreamers invoked her name. They whispered Psyche's story in hopes, in prayers, in quiet contemplation. Her journey from mortal beauty to immortal soul inspired generations, proof that even the most fragile of humans, even the most broken hearts, could rise, endure, and claim their own divinity. Eros and Psyche watched over the world, guardians of the soul, teachers of love, reminders that to endure, to hope, to forgive, is to be truly immortal. From the shadows of doubt to the radiant heights of Olympus, Psyche's journey had transformed not only her life, but the hearts of mortals and gods alike. Love, tested and true, had triumphed, and through her, it would endure forever. Though quiet, Medusa unsettled kings and gods alike, even in her youth. Born into a family of monsters in a time when the line between worship and fear was as thin as a blade, her sisters, Stheno and Euryale, were immortal, fierce, and monstrous by nature. Medusa alone was mortal. She alone could die. Perhaps that was what made her even more precious, fragile, and real. Yet Medusa wanted nothing of crowns, thrones, or lovers. She craved something far rarer, devotion. From her earliest days, Medusa's heart was drawn not to power, but to the divine ideal of purity, wisdom, and discipline. As a young woman, she entered the sacred service of Athena, the virgin goddess of wisdom, war, and restraint, dedicating herself to the echoing marble temple perched atop cliffs that faced the roiling sea. Each day began long before dawn, when she swept the floors, lit the incense, and whispered prayers that rose with the morning mist. Her vows of chastity, purity, and silence were her own, chosen freely, born from admiration rather than compulsion. She revered Athena not just as a goddess, but as an ideal, strong, untouchable, and beyond the chaos of mortal desires. The people of the nearby city began to whisper about her. A living statue of Athena, they murmured as they knelt to pray. They would steal glances as if catching sunlight on a mirrored pond. Medusa's face became a symbol, her life bound in sacred duty. Yet beauty, even in a temple, is never safe. Her reputation, her grace, her untouchable serenity spread far beyond the temple walls, through forests, across plains, and even to the ears of the gods. And with attention came danger. Admiration often wore the guise of possession, and the line between respect and obsession was razor thin. One god, in particular, took notice, not one of wisdom or restraint, but of appetite, storms, and unbridled desire. Poseidon, god of the sea. While Medusa kept her vows and her devotion, fate was already twisting its threads, for in the realm of gods, purity is rarely left untested, and innocence can become a curse. Soon, her sanctuary, the marble temple that had once been her refuge, would transform into a prison. Poseidon, whose desires knew no boundaries, had long tamed monsters, birthed storms, and claimed goddesses. Now, his gaze fell upon something far more fragile, the mortal Medusa. Her beauty had reached the ears of Olympus. Yes, but it was her stillness, her discipline, and her untouchable grace that obsessed him. She belonged to no man, no god, no mortal king. She had chosen a life beyond desire, and perhaps that was precisely what tempted him most. The more she prayed, the more he watched. And one evening, when the tide was high and the temple was empty, Poseidon rose from the sea. He did not knock. Gods rarely ask permission. The waters pooled beneath his feet as he entered Athena's sacred space, a trail of seawater dripping across the marble floor. Medusa, alone and unsuspecting, turned only to see the sea god looming in the shadows. Her voice rang out, calling Athena's name, but her cries echoed unanswered. She ran, seeking escape, but temples built for worship were not made for fleeing. Within those hallowed walls, beneath the cold gaze of Athena's marble statue, Poseidon violated what was sacred. It was not seduction, it was desecration. When it was over, Poseidon vanished, leaving only salt and silence behind. Medusa lay broken beneath her goddess's image, trembling, waiting for justice, for comfort, for any form of divine recognition. But the gods are rarely just. When Athena returned to her temple and saw what had occurred, her fury was absolute. Yet she did not direct it at Poseidon. No, her wrath was reserved for Medusa. Whether out of pride, divine law, or denial, Athena blamed her priestess for allowing the temple to be defiled. The purity of her sanctuary had been broken. In the eyes of the goddess, Medusa was now a symbol of shame. It mattered not whether she had been complicit or simply unfortunate. What mattered was the violation of sacred space. Gods protect their power, and sometimes mortals are sacrificed to preserve the sanctity of divine authority. Medusa, once a symbol of beauty and devotion, would now become a warning that no one could ignore. The temple's marble floor remained slick with seawater. The incense had long since burned out, leaving a silence heavy enough to press upon the chest. Medusa knelt in shame, her head bowed, waiting for mercy from the very goddess she had worshipped all her life. Athena's eyes burned, not with pity, but with fury for what had been violated. The virgin temple, the sanctuary of reason, discipline, and purity, had been sullied. And though Poseidon had been the transgressor, Medusa bore the blame. Stepping down from her pedestal, Athena towered over Medusa, a living embodiment of divine authority. Mercy, however, was not offered. "You have brought shame into my house," Athena's voice thundered, echoing through the temple halls. "Let the world see what becomes of beauty that invites destruction with a single gesture." Athena's hand reached out and touched Medusa's forehead. The transformation was immediate and merciless. Medusa's golden hair twisted and writhed into serpents, each hissing with a cruel mimicry of whispered prayers. Her skin lost its warmth. Her flesh became cold, unyielding. Her eyes, once soft with sorrow and devotion, now burned with terrible power. Anyone who met her gaze would turn to stone. It was not a punishment for protection, nor an act of retribution against Poseidon. It was isolation, eternal and absolute. The world would learn to fear her. Mortal kings, wandering priests, heroes who sought fame, and even gods who walked the earth. None would approach without caution. Medusa's gaze became a weapon not of violence alone, but of absolute solitude. Her beauty, once worshipped and adored, had become lethal, a symbol of divine wrath and mortal vulnerability intertwined. And yet, within the tragedy lay a bitter irony. Medusa, devoted to Athena and purity, had not sought vengeance or dominion. She had chosen devotion, yet in doing so, she had been punished, condemned to a life where admiration and fear would forever intertwine. Her mortality, once a fragile thread among immortals, became her curse. And in this curse, her story would echo through time, whispered in myth, poetry, and the cautionary tales of those who dared to challenge or desire what was sacred. Even as the temple emptied and silence settled, Medusa remained kneeling, serpents coiling around her shoulders, her gaze forever a weapon, her body a symbol. She was no longer the mortal girl who had devoted herself to wisdom. She was Medusa, the cursed, the feared, the immortal in legend if not in life, and a reminder that even the purest hearts can be punished in the realm of gods. Her sisters, Stheno and Euryale, watched from afar, immortal and untouchable, yet even they could not grasp the depth of Medusa's transformation. Mortal beauty, divine obsession, punishment without cause. Her life had become a testament to the cruelty and caprice of gods. The world outside would whisper her name with fear, the immortal poets would carve her story in stone, and generations would remember the mortal girl who had dared devotion and paid the ultimate price. Athena's decision, though cruel, cemented Medusa's place in the pantheon of myth. She was no longer simply a priestess, she was a warning, a legend, a power of isolation and transformation. Her serpentine hair and stone-turning gaze would forever remind mortals and gods alike that beauty alone, unguarded and unsought, could bring both reverence and destruction. And so Medusa's story begins, not with triumph or joy, but with devotion, violation, divine judgment, and the birth of legend. A mortal girl who had worshipped, who had prayed, who had loved, and whose punishment became eternal. From her tragedy, the world would learn caution, respect, and the terrifying, unforgettable power of a mortal who had once touched divinity and been forever transformed. A curse disguised as defense. Medusa cried out, but her voice no longer carried human warmth. Her tears, once salt water, dried upon her cheeks before they could fall. Her breath became still. Mirrors shattered at her reflection, and worst of all, she could no longer look upon another soul without destroying it. Athena did not weep. She did not look away. She simply watched as her priestess, once beautiful, once devout, was transformed into something else entirely, a monster. The temple doors closed behind Medusa as she fled into exile. Her cries echoed across cliffs and valleys. No home awaited her, no temple offered sanctuary, no sisters, no prayers. Only stone trails marked her path, and from the heights of Olympus, Athena returned to her throne, unmoved. Punishment, in the eyes of the gods, need not be fair, only lasting. Medusa's face, now a weapon of isolation, would endure far longer than memory. Banished from temple and city alike, Medusa wandered into the wilderness alone. Every step left a frozen trail, a stone testament to her cursed gaze. Birds mid-flight became statues. Deer grazing in the brush turned into lifeless marble. Even insects daring to meet her eyes were forever stilled. She sought refuge where no man would follow, eventually finding a bleak, wind-swept island at the edge of the world, a place untouched by mortals or gods alike. There she built nothing. What use was a shelter when the stars offered no comfort? What use were walls when enemies had once been protectors? The cave she entered was already half filled with statues, forgotten warriors, beasts, or perhaps even wanderers who had met her gaze for too long. And so began her second life, not as a priestess, but as a pariah. Medusa no longer wept. Tears belonged to the girl she once had been, the girl who believed in justice, who lit incense to Athena, who believed love could be earned through loyalty. That girl had died on the temple floor. In her place stood something else, shaped by betrayal and bound by survival. Not a monster, not fully, but something the world could not comprehend. Her serpents whispered to her in dreams, not in words, but through instincts, warnings of intruders, echoes of approaching footsteps. Her hair became her guardians, her eyes a curse, her soul a flickering memory. She carved the walls of her cave with images, the temple she had once served, her sisters, faces she feared losing. Stone was all she had left of memory, all she had of herself. Occasionally, heroes came, lured by tales of a cursed maiden, tempted by the glory of slaying a monster. They underestimated her, not just her power, but her pain. None returned. Each failed assault further hardened her, turning her into the very legend the world imagined. Her humanity persisted, faint and fragile, yet fading with each encounter. Far from her cave, in the bustling city-states and sacred temples of Greece, Medusa's name began to change. Mortals no longer spoke of her as a priestess, a devotee of Athena. Her story became a warning. Medusa the Gorgon, Medusa the cursed temptress, Medusa whose gaze turned men to stone. Poseidon's violation, Athena's cruel punishment. These details were erased. The gods' roles were smoothed over. Poets and priests preferred their gods spotless, their monsters clearly defined. Children were warned, obey your parents, or Medusa will come in the night. Soldiers carved her image into shields, not to honor her, but to strike fear. Artists painted her on pottery, mosaics, and temple walls, her snarling face a cautionary emblem. Medusa, from exile, could only feel the weight of their words. She had not asked to become legend, had not wished for fear, only survival. Yet survival in the eyes of power is always threatening. Still, faint whispers of compassion existed. In remote villages, old women left offerings at the mouths of caves, murmuring that Medusa protected those wronged, shielding the weak. Some saw her as a guardian rather than a monster. These voices were soft, drowned out by the roaring myths of heroes and kings. Medusa remained hidden, unaware of how deeply her name had split between martyr and monster. What she knew, what she feared, was that the hunters would come, drawn by stories of her gaze. And somewhere, a new challenger was born. A boy destined for myth, a hero in waiting, Perseus. His story began in silence and confinement. His mother, Danae, had been imprisoned in a bronze tower by her father, King Acrisius, desperate to prevent a prophecy that foretold her son would one day cause his death. Yet mortal locks cannot bind fate. The gods would intervene, not with mercy, but with inevitability. When Danae gave birth, her father cast mother and child into the sea in a wooden chest, a cowardly attempt at execution. The waters, ruled by Poseidon, carried them not to death, but to refuge. They washed ashore on the island of Seriphos, where a humble fisherman took them in. Perseus grew under the tutelage of kindness and survival, strength tempered with humility, cunning forged in quiet. He never learned the full truth of his divine parentage, shielded from the gods' interference, yet shaped by it. Years passed, and Perseus became sharp-eyed and capable, yet untested. Then, the king of Seriphos, Polydectes, sought to claim Danae for himself. Perseus stood in the way. Polydectes, feigning generosity, hosted a feast and demanded gifts from each guest. Perseus, proud yet poor, offered nothing of value. Polydectes, seizing the moment to humiliate him, mockingly requested the head of Medusa. Laughter erupted. What was meant to shame Perseus instead set him on the path that fate had long prepared. The gods, watching with intent, intervened. Athena, perhaps nursing lingering guilt for what had been done to Medusa, and Hermes, swift and cunning, appeared in dreams. They whispered guidance, gifting Perseus tools essential for the impossible: winged sandals to traverse the air, a polished shield to see without gazing directly, an adamantine sword to strike with precision, and the helm of Hades to vanish from sight. These were not merely gifts, but instruments to complete a myth that had begun long before him, with the exiled priestess of Athena herself. Perseus, unaware of Medusa's tragic story, embarked on his quest, driven by honor, pride, and survival. Yet with every step toward the Gorgon, he moved closer to the full truth of her suffering, a story long buried beneath fear, myth, and the lies of mortals and gods alike. Medusa, isolated and immortalized in stone, awaited neither him nor his mercy. Her existence was a fortress of pain and vigilance, the culmination of injustice and divine cruelty. The island of Medusa, windswept and remote, held her statues, frozen reminders of those who had come too close, a gallery of unintended victims. Perseus approached with caution, shield raised, heart racing, unaware that he did not merely seek a head for glory. He was about to meet a woman shaped by betrayal, loneliness, and unimaginable loss, a mortal who had faced the gods and endured. What he could not know was that Medusa's story was not simply one of vengeance or horror. It was a tale of survival, resilience, and the quiet, terrifying power of a mortal wronged by divine forces. Every stone she left behind was testament to her endurance. Every serpent upon her head whispered warnings, guarding her solitude. And yet, in the shadows of myth, even heroes could stumble upon truth, and even monsters could be more than what legends remembered. Medusa's exile, her cursed gaze, her serpentine hair, and her stone-filled cave were not the final chapter. They were the prelude to a confrontation that would test the courage, wisdom, and morality of the mortal who sought to confront her. Perseus's arrival marked the collision of two worlds, the vengeance of legend and the sorrow of history hidden from the ears of men. In that moment, myth and mortality would meet, and the story of Medusa, the girl who had served gods, been violated by one, punished by another, and finally cast into eternity, would reach its critical reckoning. And so the legend continued. A mortal girl wronged, transformed into a weapon, feared by kings, remembered by poets, and now faced by the hero born of prophecy. The cycle of myth, justice, and survival spiraled onward, shaping the stories that would echo across centuries. Medusa, the exiled priestess, the monster, the guardian of the wronged, stood ready, not merely to die or be slain, but to endure. For her story, like her gaze, was eternal. In the quiet sanctuary of a temple, Perseus knelt, praying not to the gods who had protected him, nor to those who had guided him, but to a fate he could not yet name. The weight of a king's challenge pressed against his chest, and the divine tools Athena and Hermes had gifted him rested at his side. A polished shield reflected the flickering torchlight, a sword shone with an adamantine edge, winged sandals hummed softly against the stone floor, and the helm of Hades promised invisibility if danger arose. Yet none of these could ease the uncertainty gnawing at him. Finding Medusa was not a matter of mere navigation. Her island had been obscured by time and memory, hidden even from gods who had cursed her. To locate her, Perseus had to seek knowledge not from mortals, not from kings, but from the ancient and terrible. He ventured first to the Grey Sisters, the three beings older than the cosmos itself, who shared a single eye and a single tooth. They dwelled in shadow and spite, in the void between light and nightmare, and knew the secret paths to the Gorgon. Perseus approached without pleading or flattery. He waited. He struck when one sister passed the single eye to another, seizing it with deft hands, holding their only vision hostage. "Tell me," he demanded, voice hard as bronze. The sisters hissed, a serpentine symphony, their bodies coiled around each other like smoke. Yet they spoke. They whispered of a distant island beyond mortal maps, past jagged rocks that tore ships to splinters, where stone littered the shores like fallen soldiers frozen mid-battle. An island where no birds sang, no stars lingered, and the wind dared not enter. This was the lair of Medusa, last of her kind, cursed and feared. With direction and divine guidance, Perseus took to the skies, sandals slicing through clouds, the sea unfurling below him like silver silk. He envisioned his return to Seriphos, triumphant, Medusa's head in hand, Polydectes humbled, his mother restored. Glory filled his chest, untainted by doubt. He had been told she was a monster, that her death was justice. Yet as he approached, the winds seemed to whisper secrets of a truth Athena had never revealed. The hero's heart, eager for triumph, could not yet comprehend the sorrow that awaited. When Perseus finally reached the island, the world seemed to hold its breath. No breeze stirred the palm fronds. No birdsong punctuated the silence. Hundreds of statues lined the jagged shores, frozen in terror, their faces contorted in fear, mouths open in silent screams. Limbs sprawled across the rocks. Shields cracked beneath the weight of divine power. The air was heavy with salt and moss, and a faint undertone of something else, sorrow. He stepped carefully over stone limbs, each footfall echoing against the cavern walls. Athena had warned him never to look directly at Medusa, to use the polished shield as reflection, to strike swiftly and silently. But what the goddess had not revealed was the truth in the eyes of those statues: surprise. A sudden clarity in the final moments before their lives were petrified, a realization that the world had lied to them about her. Deeper into the cavern he moved, wings folded behind him, heart hammering with a strange combination of anticipation and unease. There, in the dim glow of the cave, Medusa slept, coiled like a child among the frozen forms of her victims, her serpents quiet, resting atop her shoulders and head. Her face, seen in the mirrored shield, was fragile and peaceful, hauntingly human beneath the serpentine tangle. She did not roar. She did not lunge. She barely breathed. And in that instant, Perseus hesitated. This was not the roaring monster of legend, not the terror of urns or mosaics. This was a woman, kneeling in time, abandoned by gods, betrayed by divinity, sleeping alone amidst the echoes of her curse. Yet the world had demanded a hero, and Perseus, bound by honor and mortal pride, remembered his mother, remembered the sneer of Polydectes, remembered the promise of glory. He lifted his sword, eyes fixed on the shield, moving step by measured step. A serpent stirred. Medusa's lashes flickered. Still, no scream emerged. Still, no violence. Perseus' blade sang through the air, a whisper of divine judgment, and when it struck, silence followed. Her head fell into the bronze-scaled satchel gifted by Athena, its eyes open, still aware. The cave exhaled, as though the island itself had been holding its breath. Perseus did not linger. Carrying the satchel, he ascended into the skies once more, the weight of both victory and unease heavy upon him. The island below, silent and sorrowful, seemed to watch as he departed. Though he had completed the task, he sensed that he had not vanquished a monster, only a body. The story, the curse, the betrayal, it would endure. Even in death, Medusa's power remained. Her snakes writhed within the bag, tongues flickering, sensing the world outside. Her gaze, though severed, remained potent. Perseus did not dare look. Athena's guidance had granted him a weapon, but the lesson was unspoken. Some forces of the gods are not meant to be conquered, only wielded. As Perseus crossed the sea, dark waters stirred. Poseidon, ancient and relentless, sensed the disturbance. Athena, ever watchful, knew the balance had shifted. Far above, the fates wove their quiet threads, but even they paused to note this act. A mortal hero had struck against a divine curse, disrupting the careful order the gods had laid out. Storms began to gather, distant and furious, but Perseus pressed on, eyes fixed upon Seriphos, heart set on justice for his mother and glory for himself. He could not sleep, not fully. Each night, the serpentine whisper of Medusa haunted him. He dreamed of the temple, of a young priestess begging the gods for protection, and he woke with sweat on his brow, heart hammering. The story he had been told, of heroism and triumph, clashed with the truth he had seen: a woman betrayed, punished, and forced into legend. When Perseus finally returned to Seriphos, the people cheered. The king's mockery turned to unease as Perseus entered the palace. He removed the satchel, revealing Medusa's head. Polydectes froze mid-step, the first hint of doubt flickering across his face. For a heartbeat, the palace held still. Then the gaze fell upon the king. Stone spread through his body like frost across a frozen lake. His final breath, trapped behind lips turned to granite, marked the triumph of divine justice and the terrifying potency of Medusa's power. Courtiers screamed and fled, some falling to their knees in awe and terror. Perseus remained silent, expression unreadable. His mother, Danae, rushed forward, embracing her son. Yet he spoke not of Medusa's suffering, her humanity, the truth behind the legend. For the world had demanded a monster, and he had fulfilled that narrative. The story spread, songs were sung, temples erected. Perseus became immortalized in marble, Gorgon slayer, champion of the gods, breaker of curses. Medusa's name, however, remained absent, eclipsed by the hero who had wielded her power. Yet her role did not end in death. Placed upon Athena's shield, her gaze remained a weapon, a guardian, a silent testament to the consequences of divine betrayal and mortal survival. Perseus carried that power, walking beneath her gaze for the rest of his days. Every victory, every triumph, every battle fought in her shadow. He was remembered, celebrated, loved, and she remained feared, immortalized, her story both weapon and warning. The gods had written their roles, the hero and the monster, yet beneath the surface, truth persisted. Medusa's humanity, her betrayal, her endurance, whispered through the stones, waiting for ears willing to hear the story beyond legend. And in that quiet, in that enduring shadow of myth, the balance remained. Perseus, the hero of mortal fame. Medusa, the victim, the weapon, the immortal witness. Their fates entwined not by choice, but by the merciless hand of the gods. And though the world remembered only the slayer, the story of the girl priestess, betrayed and cursed, endured in silence, a caution and a lament carried by wind, water, and whispered memory. After Perseus returned triumphant, the mortal world celebrated his victory. Songs were sung, temples raised, coins minted, and every storyteller in the Greek world hailed him as hero. Yet the gods had other plans. Athena, ever watchful, ever calculating, summoned Perseus to Olympus. Not to commend him, nor to offer gifts, nor to praise his cunning and courage, but to claim what had always belonged to her. It was not the sword, nor the winged sandals, nor even the helm of invisibility that he had carried on his journey. It was the head itself, the severed head of Medusa, a mortal woman once innocent, once devout, now myth incarnate. Perseus, with practiced grace and unwavering obedience, presented the satchel without hesitation. The goddess took it from him, a quiet inevitability in her movements, and affixed the head to her shield, the aegis, transforming Medusa's visage into a weapon of divine legend. Once radiant, once human, Medusa's face now snarled with frozen rage from the bronze curve of Athena's shield. Wherever the goddess marched, her enemies turned to stone at a single glance. Cities fell, armies crumbled, statues of the aegis spread across temples and coins. Her shield became both warning and banner, an emblem of divine authority, but no mortal scholar ever paused to ask why Medusa had been coerced in the first place. Athena, goddess of wisdom and war, wielded the visage of a woman she had once punished, not out of pity, not in atonement, but as a statement of power. A warning to mortals, a lesson to gods. Transgression carries consequences, and beauty alone, unguarded, may be its own sentence. Yet whispers circulated among the wise. Some claimed Athena's act was more than weaponization. They said it was a twisted form of immortality. By affixing Medusa to the aegis, Athena ensured that the priestess who had once knelt in her temple would never be forgotten. The girl who had wept silently on the temple floor now existed in eternity, etched into bronze and legend. The gods, with all their omnipotence, could not erase her presence. Yet the truth, as is often the case with divinity, was layered, paradoxical, and unspoken. Athena had condemned Medusa for shaming her temple, and yet now she wielded that very shame as a trophy of dominance. The transformation was complete: priestess, victim, monster, now weapon, symbol, and unyielding icon. Even within the cold metal of the Aegis, something of Medusa endured. In the curve of her sculpted jaw, in the tragic slant of her petrified eyes, a spark remained. Something alive, something unsilenced. Most who beheld her saw only terror, an unstoppable force, an enemy turned to stone. But a few looked closer and saw defiance, protest, and the echo of injustice. That was a power no sword could ever challenge. Through centuries, Medusa's face stared outward from Athena's aegis, unblinking, eternal. To most, it symbolized divine terror, enemies immobilized, armies subdued, battles decided before they began. But to those willing to peer deeper, her gaze revealed memory, suffering, and the injustice never recorded in temple scrolls. She bore witness to the cruelty of gods, the arrogance of kings, and the blindness of mortals who only saw her as a monster. As empires rose and fell, Medusa observed silently. She watched temples crumble, heroes become tyrants, altars dedicated to her curse built over lies, and yet she endured. Occasionally, a quiet offering appeared in hidden corners, a clay serpent, a whispered name, a lock of hair left in a shrine. Women understood what others had not. They recognized in her suffering the resonance of their own. Long before she became the monster of myth, Medusa had been a protector. Her cave had been a sanctuary, a fortress against predators and invaders. Those who sought to harm found their ambitions frozen in stone. Her legend fractured across time. To some, she remained the girl who had once knelt in a temple, innocent and devoted. To others, she became something far greater, a symbol of resistance, a goddess of wrath and wounded justice. Her story persisted in two intertwined threads. The first, Medusa as monster, Gorgon, terror incarnate, a gaze that petrified all who dared challenge her. Her head became a talisman, mounted above gates and shields, used by soldiers to strike fear deeper than any spear. The second, Medusa as wronged woman, a victim punished for her beauty and her devotion, cursed by the caprice of gods and men alike. This tale, whispered by poets and philosophers, survived in quiet corners, in libraries and hidden shrines, and slowly reshaped her myth. The serpents atop her head, once a punishment, became a crown. Her eyes, once a curse, became a shield, a defense forged by betrayal. In every era, women who had survived injustice saw themselves in her. Medusa became a mirror, reflecting the pain, resilience, and anger of those whom society had labeled monsters. Her gaze, her suffering, her very existence, spoke truths long buried beneath layers of legend. Through centuries, Medusa's story evolved. Artists painted her on vases, mosaics, and murals. Sculptors etched her visage into marble and bronze. Storytellers whispered her name in cautionary tales and lessons of power. The tale diverged across time. In some, she was feared, in others, revered. To some, she petrified. To others, she testified. The gaze that once froze mortals became a symbol of vigilance, of endurance, of resistance. Even Athena's aegis, for all its terror, could not erase the woman beneath the myth. Medusa's suffering, her humanity, and the injustice she endured persisted in her petrified stare. Soldiers marched behind her gaze, unaware that the weapon they carried had once belonged to a woman who had lived, loved, and suffered. She became both guardian and witness, a silent force that carried memory through the ages. As civilizations rose and fell, her image traveled. Byzantium, Rome, hidden corners of Europe, her face lingered, a ghost beneath the surface of myth and memory. The story split further. One narrative enshrined her as monster, the other as martyr, victim, and survivor. Both narratives coexisted, each reflecting the values and fears of the society that told it. In time, Medusa came to embody truth and defiance. Her gaze, once feared, became a symbol of questioning and reflection. Scholars and artists pondered her story anew, asking why a hero was praised while a wronged woman was punished. The serpents upon her head became a crown of wisdom. The eyes that petrified became lenses of insight. Medusa's myth evolved, teaching that sometimes the monster is not the one with fangs, but the one wielding the sword. Her image endured in modern times, reinterpreted, reclaimed, and reimagined. Medusa rose in paintings, literature, and feminist thought, not to petrify, but to testify. She became a witness to the endurance of the wronged, the resilience of survivors, and the injustice that lingers long after the original crime. She asked no apology. She demanded no recognition. She existed as proof that the world's understanding of justice was often incomplete, and that power always comes with consequences. And in every retelling, every generation that dares to question the old story, Medusa blinks once. She watches. She waits. She reminds those who listen that myths are not static, that truth can survive the lies of gods, heroes, and men, that stories of monsters may hide the voices of victims, and that the legacy of a woman wronged can endure far longer than the victories of those who struck her down. Her gaze remains unblinking, eternal, a challenge and a question for all who behold it. Medusa lives, not merely as legend, nor as monster, nor as myth, but as testament. Testimony to the wronged, the silenced, and the resilient. And in that enduring stare, generations recognize that sometimes the true power is not the hand that strikes, but the eyes that bear witness. Across centuries, across continents, across art and literature, Medusa endures. The hero may be celebrated, the gods may wield their trophies, but her story persists, etched in bronze, carved in marble, whispered in song, remembered in shadow. The girl who knelt in the temple, the woman betrayed by gods, lives on. Not in the body that fell, but in the gaze that challenges the world, that questions injustice, and that reminds all who see it that the line between monster and victim is never as clear as myth would have us believe. Through the ages, Medusa's legend became layered, paradoxical, and eternal. To some, she was fear, to others, defiance. To most, a story of punishment, to a few, a mirror of truth. The weapon of the gods became a lens into human cruelty, divine caprice, and survival. Her serpents hissed, her eyes glimmered, and across every retelling, one question persisted: who is the true monster? And in that question, Medusa lives again. Every brushstroke, every sculpture, every whispered tale ensures that the priestess who once knelt in a temple, wronged and cursed, remains eternal. Watching, waiting, remembering, bearing witness. For the gaze that petrifies is also the gaze that reveals, the gaze that remembers, the gaze that asks, who among us is truly the hero, and who is the monster?